Greetings and welcome to another edition of The Pedal Shift Project. The Pedal Shift Project is a series of conversations, thoughts, and experiments on bicycle travel adventures. From tips and tricks to ideas on how to ride your ride. Let's shrink the world by bike. Show notes and more are available at pedalshift.net/408, and you can email the show at pedalshift@pedalshift.net or text me at 202-930-1109 and check Pedal Shift out on all the socials as well. Hello everybody and welcome to the 408th edition of the Pedal Shift Project. My name's Tim Mooney. Thanks so much for joining on this edition, part 6 of the Lake Ontario 2025 adventure. Transitioning from the peaceful Toronto Island back into the urban sprawl of southern Ontario is a bit of a record scratch, I'll admit, and something I'll more thoroughly experience when I eventually ride this ride. But a fast forward to a stunning Niagara Falls hotel leads to an extensive e-bike exploration of the Niagara River and the Falls area. But plans always have a way of changing, and this day was no different. Good morning from Toronto Island, which is technically in the city of Toronto. And I am all checked out and heading towards the ferry. It is about 15 minutes before the ferry leaves, so I am going to take the opportunity to give this neighborhood another look. The homes are all really nicely built, really beautiful. The streets are like a wide sidewalk and built like a sidewalk. And all of the homes are roughly the size of my cabin or a touch smaller. And it's just such a great size. Just so perfect. I am quite enamored. It's a bit of a foggy morning. It rained all night, and it did rain somewhat heavily at times, which was a bit of a surprise. I expected it to be a bit of a drizzle. Maybe I was still in, this is Oregon mode, but really not a big deal. Noticing here there's some apple trees to continue our theme of apples being quite a thing around Lake Ontario. And it's quiet. It's really quiet. It's a Thursday. It is the opposite of bustling. It's hard to imagine that I'm in one of the more important cities in the world right now. And it's just, it's another universe. Really, absolutely interesting. I'm just taking a quick peek. It took that long to get to the ferry. I'm just gonna peek and see if I could see where the ferry is. I assume it is. Yeah, they're all docked in Toronto right now. I guess I'm still in Toronto. Another fun thing is that there are payphones on the island, which you don't see too many of those anymore. In any event, I'm just going to do a little ride here, maybe go back and check out that view of the city and the park. And I think this is not a goodbye. So a bunch of different places that I've gone to in life where I'm like, I'm not sure if I'll ever end up being back here again. This is a place I intend to return. That is for darn sure. Be interesting to see how crowded this island gets later in the summer. I assume it's just bananas. Between the private boats, I'm passing by one of the marinas here, and of course the ferries themselves. I think it was $9 round trip to get here on the city ferry. It's obviously a very easy and inexpensive place to get to. Kind of amazing. Yeah, I'm very intrigued with this place, and I'm definitely going to look more into, not that I'm intending to do this by the way, but just interested in seeing how one lives here and how much a house like that costs. My understanding is that somebody might have been at that bar the other night talking about how there's a waiting list, a substantial waiting list to be able to live here on the island. That would make a ton of sense to me. I would be surprised if it were easy to get here. There's a very limited amount of housing stock. And of course, it's also, you have to have the right lifestyle for it too, because if you've got a large family, It doesn't look like a lot of these homes can support multi bedrooms and whatnot, but for someone who does not have a large family, such as myself, that looks pretty good. I could even live in that one bedroom or that one studio that I was in. I could make that work. I would have to figure out a whole lot of different things in terms of downsizing, but I could make it work. All right, we'll leave the fantasy behind, but it is interesting to think about in a future phase of life, having a setup like this where you're very close to a city, and at the same time I have sort of a arboreal kind of existence. I think that would be pretty good, I would think. I would think so. We're almost here to the photo point, so I can get one last look of the city this direction. Of course, the ferry will have a similar type of look too, but this is just framed so beautifully that it's nice. Yeah, I've really had some stellar views of things on this trip, and of course today, here's my move to talk about transitions to today. Today is no exception. A little bit of urban riding, and I'll spare you that. We'll just do this kind of morning intro here, and we won't ride to Scotiabank Center together after the very short ride. Then a little adventure getting into the garage, although I don't think it'll be that bad. It was easy getting out, so I suspect it'll be easy getting in. Then pack up, get the bike back into the vehicle, and then we're gone. And that will be a bunch of probably very trafficy driving between here and Niagara Falls. I expect it'll probably take, I'm gonna figure it'll take a couple of hours. And then my intention is to go straight to the hotel, park, see if I can get checked in so that I can stay parked there. It's gonna cost me, in fact, nearly twice as much to park at the hotel than to park here in Toronto, if I did my math right here. $24 here and $45 at the hotel. Now, why is that? Because my hotel basically is right in front of the Horseshoe Falls, Niagara Falls. So it makes sense. I get it. It's a prime time location. So yeah, then assuming that all works out and that I'm able to park there and stay there, I pull the bike out and then we just go on a big looping adventure. And I think that my intention is to essentially do a long ride along the Niagara River. And I just think that's going to be pretty awesome. The river itself is impressive as it is, but of course you've got the falls too, and the soundscape that we'll have for that should be noisy, very noisy. And this will be my first time doing it. There is an outside shop. I am considering, however briefly, that I may consider to cross the border and back. I'm not sure if that's a bad idea or a good idea, but I was really excited about crossing an international border by bike. I've never done it before. It would be another box checked on this adventure, and yeah, why not? And then maybe, a lot depends on when I get there and how much time I have, what the conditions are. It looks like it's going to be upper 60s Fahrenheit, but cloudy, and I think that's the key. If it's comfortable riding with no rain, which it looks like it is, I think the rain's all out of the system here, that may be a big, beautiful, fun adventure for the day. That's the extra though. The riding up and down the Niagara Parkway, I think, would be just absolutely fantastic. All right, it is about 10 minutes before the ferry goes. I am sure it is on the way. So I'm going to work my way back and I'm going to let you go. And then next stop, Niagara Falls, I think. More to come. From Niagara Falls, Ontario. Holy smokes. First of all, gorgeous day for me. Not sunny. Windy AF. But let me tell you about my hotel. I'm going to start with the only criticism I have. It's a little dated. It's definitely got 80s vibes. In fact, it actually even has an iPod clock. But here's the thing. I have an iPod with me, like a real deal one. So it works, and I'm low-key excited about it. See, that's the worst thing I can say about it. But here's the thing. My view is outrageous. Like, I am going to have worse views cycling today of the falls than I do from my room, and it's not even close. I'm absolutely stunned by it. It took some doing for me to leave, but I've already decided that No matter what I do for dinner, I don't know what I'm going to get. There's a lot of like kind of touristy things all around here, but I am going to be bringing it into my room because there's literally no other place that makes sense. Like none, zero. It's absolutely stunning. So there's that. Here are my plans. I am, as you can probably hear, removing the bicycle from here. The setup of this hotel does not allow very well for bringing the bike inside. I may inquire, just because I don't love it. The lot seems fine where I'm at. It's just this feels a little exposed to me to have the bike out here. So I'm going to see what they'll do for me. After all, I am a Silver Elite member, as they kept saying several times. Business travel has its perks. Off-season, midweek also has its perks because this room was cheaper. It's one of the cheaper rooms that I have too. So I'm just a little confused by this whole thing. I think that they are, like I said, it's a dated hotel, but who cares? It is absolutely stunning. But back to bicycling plans. My plan is to just ride and bring you along. The geography of the Niagara region is unusual. If you were with me for the Erie Canal rides, you may have heard me use the term Niagara Escarpment. The Niagara Escarpment is, how do I describe it? It's basically a gigantic mesa, and that's really not the right word for it, but it's a big drop-off, and that's actually why the falls exists. And there's another one, another big drop around Lockport, which you've definitely been on around me for, if you were around for that episode of the pod, and would have been part of my riding for the final day, but probably won't be now. Why do I mention all of this? I mention all of this as I put the bike together here because I'm not 100% sure how I get down to the parkway level. It looks like I'm going to have to go quite a bit around to do it. So I may have to be riding on some stroads to get down there, even though I can see it, obviously, directly right from where I'm at right now. So I may just kind of ride around looking for that because I'm not in a rush. The other thing that I'm starting to lean against is the border crossing. Unless that looks easy, I think I'm going to save that for another time. It just is a lot, I think, right now to be putting together. And yeah, I think I'm going to leave that for another trip. I will change my mind if changing my mind makes sense. And in the interim, we'll continue to throw things into the back seat here. I'm not sure if I've said much about the new vehicle. It is a Toyota RAV4 plug-in hybrid. I think I've said that much. But it is very convertible and has a lot going for it for these types of adventures. And I am excited about it. I've got a new investment coming in the reasonably near future that is going to convert this into much more of a camper situation than the LaCrosse ever was. And that's another thing that I think is really exciting for bike adventuring, particularly for these types of trips, which, you know, historically I just bike everywhere. Now, I've obviously done at least a few where I've been driving, which is fine. We're still getting our bikey adventures in, but this does allow me to camp and do the fun things as well at the same time. So I'm excited about it. It's basically a camping system that is a drawer in the rear that still allows the seats to be fully reconverted back, so it can permanently live inside of the vehicle, which I actually am very excited about. And you compare and contrast to what I did in LaCrosse, it is much easier. There we go. I'm using the new battery, by the way, the newer battery, and I just pinched the heck out of my finger doing it. Largely because I want to make things go. Let's see, do I need this? The strap that I use on the larger battery, I don't think I need it for this battery because it is smaller profile and a little less weight. I won't need that hat. Do I even bother with water? Yeah, I should bother with water. Okay, we'll bring water. But getting back to the drawer system, it just provides me storage for when I'm not really needing it as a camping situation, but it also folds right out into a very flat platform. The thing about Toyota RAV4s is, and I think all Toyotas really, is that they're not very flat. And so if you're okay with that and you can sleep on a little crazy incline, then you don't need to do something like this. But I need it to be flatter, and this makes it perfectly flat. And like I said, it's in there full time once I get it installed, but serves for good storage in the interim, and then has all of that good stuff ready for me when I need it. So, like that. And I do have a gigantic adventure that will be happening later this summer that I think is going to be bike adjacent at the very least. I wouldn't be surprised if you all get some kind of podcasting out of it, but it's still to be determined how that all goes. And we'll talk much more about that in later episodes. In fact, you're hearing this episode, you may even be hearing this when I am doing all of this. So yeah, the time shifting of all of these things, since I just do this day by day and then it comes out to you week by week. That's just how it goes. Now that I've done all this, I feel like I don't need anywhere near, I pulled up my gloves and winter hat and stuff. I don't think I need any of that. I think what we're going to do then is we're just going to load up and go on an adventure into the Niagara region here and start up the ride with GPS to track all of this. There we go, and start that ride. All right. Oh, got to power up the bike, of course. I think the e-bike elements of this will be very handy. I have not had any lunch yet. I think I would like to, but I think I would also like to get out here. Let's see here. All right. I just decided to go in one direction. And I can see the Niagara River from here. I do also see a dead end. Looks like an old rail right-of-way. Actually, that would be interesting to check out. Certainly not meant for vehicles. But can my bike get down it? Yes, this is the drop down to the parkway level. There is a path, a dirt path. Oh, is this the rail line though? Before I get too excited. Yes. Wow. So I am on an abandoned rail right-of-way. Below me is another rail line with trees and debris all around it, so it looks abandoned as well. But I don't know how easy that would be to get around it. So I'm going to declare this a not great idea. Interesting. I have not been to Niagara Falls in 20 plus years, which is crazy considering it's not that far from where I grew up. And you would expect and maybe think that I would be able to get here more frequently, but I just really haven't when I visited family. And it's just far enough away that it wouldn't make sense. Hitting quite the headwind right now. Not sure if the dead cat is eliminating that completely, but it is pretty big. And right by the convention center, I think we're just going to try to do some road riding here. See if we can find our way down. The nice thing about doing this by e-bike is I do not care if I end up having to climb a big hill. It just doesn't matter. It's also a good idea to scope out food for later. I think maybe what I would end up doing is considering maybe an extremely late lunch / early dinner. All right. Yeah, this does not appear to be a good biking route, but I also don't know which direction to go. I probably should look at a map, but I'm gonna go this direction, and I'm gonna run a yellow light. Let's go to Marineland, 1 mile. Marineland is on the level that I want to go to. Marineland is the local amusement park, substantially bigger than the one we discovered last time. Oh, 2 falls and attractions. That's the incline railway. So I'm still at the wrong level. And let's see, this is the casino. So that doesn't work for me either. But at least now I'm 1 level below. So we're gonna go on this parkway-ish thing. And I can see the Horseshoe Falls over my left shoulder. Just stunning. Just stunning. This is a true international destination. They will have tour groups that are coming to New York City that will come up all the way up here to see this and back in a day. It's a day trip. Oh yeah, it's in New York. I think it's a 6.5 hour drive if you're lucky. So they do buses and whatnot. So yeah, they leave at the crack of dawn, get up here, and so you have tons of international tourism up this direction. It's pretty wild. And I'm sure it'll be down there if I can find my way down there. Let's see. We've got a monastery of Mount Carmel. I'm going to go a little bit further here. And if I can't find a way to get down to the proper parkway, I will finally pull out a map. But I will say, it's just nice to be on the bike. And no cars up here, which is pretty tremendous. The reputation of this area for good cycling is high. So I think I'm half discovering it. It can get incredibly congested during nicer weather. I'm sure Memorial Day weekend a few days ago for me was very crowded here at the falls. But it is interesting, as with so many places, the locals are just, oh yeah, haven't been to the falls in forever. Just like being in DC, I haven't really needed to go to the falls, or excuse me, go to the DC stuff in a long time. You go once, and then it's, oh, I live here. I feel like that ends up messing things up for people. So this is Portage Road, which looks, it's a 4-lane highway. Highway is the wrong word, but it's 4 lanes so people can go around me. There's a provincial park, but it looks like it's for offices. So I think I am going to just continue this way. I'm going away from the falls quite a bit now, which is fine by me. I watched a really interesting video of a person who decided to walk along maybe the old abandoned right-of-way that I just saw, and it goes right through Marineland. So that was an interesting adventure. Yeah, this does not appear to be getting me where I need to go, at least in the near term. And I don't really have a good spot to pull over unless I just go into the grass here, which I may want to consider doing. I do see a traffic light ahead. Anything that could get me back down by the Niagara Falls Parkway is exactly what I want and need. So maybe we'll just do that. This is the portion of the program where I have no idea where I'm going. And this may or may not get me in trouble. Not like real trouble, but this is looking promising though, I will say. And the idea here is just to do some cycling, put in some miles here, in and around the falls itself. But I would like to get down by the river because that's a much more proper way of doing things. Let's see, I got no one coming. I do have to make a left. This is Upper Rapids Road that I would be turning on. That strikes me as being interesting to go down. The really fascinating part about this is Niagara Falls created, or the hydro, at least here on the Niagara River, created a really fascinating bit of industry for the area. And this will get into our polluted Superfund visit tomorrow, which I'm still hoping to make, and may even want to bike around Love Canal. But there was cheap, abundant electricity, which allowed for the electrochemical industry on the New York side of things to build up. And there, of course, was here on the Canadian side as well. But it was all based on the hydroelectric power that was created by the power of this river. And of course, it is very robust. Watch Superman 2 if you would like to see how fast and hard that river moves. It's actually one of the better shots of it. This looks to be a gigantic parking lot, presumably for tourists. I'm seeing signs for falls parking. There's apparently a floral show house up here. Oh yeah, I am correct. Here's the river. Okay, so this may be exactly what I want. This could be the Niagara Parkway right here. Yes. So yes, this is the control house here for the hydro. So actually, we're going to keep going the wrong way. And when I say the wrong way, away from the falls. So this will be the furthest out I decide to go here. And no shoulder, but people are going around me, no problem. So there are these gigantic gates up here, and I suspect that is maybe where the hydro turbines are, but I am really guessing at this point. And up here, and when I say up here, upstream on the river, boy, it's a big nothing burger in terms of the swiftness of the current. It's very chill. So, yeah, these just appear to be gates of some type, but it's on land. So I have no earthly idea what those are. On the opposite side of the river is, of course, New York State, and there are all sorts of smokestacks and industry and whatnot. I'm going to go into the do not enter portion of our program. Sorry for my brakes. Once again, I need to figure out how to do these types of brakes. All right. So now I'm in front of one of these things. A sign talking about coyotes being around here. I'm pretty sure I can outrun them. I am now on what I have to believe is the Niagara River path, which I had wanted to get to in the first instance. So we're going to call this mission success. And I'm now reversing course. So yeah, the water here is flat, not moving really all that hard at all. I am seeing now what I think must be the turbines, or where the turbines may be located. It almost looks like a big footbridge across the river. Oh, but that might be... Now, I'm just confused. I wonder if that's a Canadian island then? Let's just get closer. It is goose season, and they have their goslings, although I see no goslings out right now. You know what that usually means with the goslings. You get cranky geese. But I am maneuvering around goose waste, we'll just say. All right, now I get a better look here at what must be the turbines, I'm assuming. And there's a plaque, so you know I'm going to read that. Yeah, okay, the water's moving more swiftly there. I bet you that's everything. Okay, Niagara Tunnel Project. At this site, 40 meters below the surface of the Niagara River, lies the intake for the 10.2 kilometer long Niagara Tunnel, which conveys water to the Sir Adam Beck hydro plants to generate electricity. Okay, so now that makes sense. So what's happening here, I forgot about this, that's right. The turbines are not located on the river themselves, it's below the river. That's pretty fascinating. So yeah, the hydropower is invisible, although it's harnessing the power of this river. And I suspect that tunnel also is going to create some artificial elevation. Change is not the right word I want to use, but some artificial potential energy, meaning that they dug the tunnel at probably a deeper incline than the river itself is doing at this point. And of course, it potentially ends up below the level of where the falls are, which is what generates so much stuff. You may now be able to hear, there's a bit of a spillway here. And this is where the river really transforms and it goes into its more wild state. So it's clearly harnessed at this point, but below here, it's a one-way ticket to down the falls. I may be on video surveillance according to a sign, which makes some sense. I'm by a power generating facility. Also, look, there's a lot of people that do silly things around here. Of course, going over the falls on a barrel was a thing for a long time. I don't know if people still do that, but certainly the entry point here would be possible. You can see on the New York side, there's a casino on the New York side. You cannot understate the amount of tourism that happens around here. There's a big tower on the New York State side that gives you a nice view of the Canadian Horseshoe Falls. The trick here is, although there is a Niagara Falls, New York, the reality is that the best view is here on the Canadian side, which is why I was always intending on staying on this side. Access beyond this point may lead to drowning. Yes. And probably a lot worse. I don't know what would be worse than that, but okay, this is great. I'm starting to feel like let's see here. I think, am I back to where I was? No. Okay, this is great. I may have to have Google Maps figure out my way back because I've already forgotten how I got here. But this is clearly a designated path, clearly going right on the river. And yes, I've never been up this direction. So this is very cool. It's like another, oh, I think I have found the end of this. This is the Ontario Power Screenhouse. More plaques. Oh, wait, maybe I can't go. This walkway crossing the Ontario Power Generating Station 4 Bay replaces a screenhouse used to stop debris and ice from entering the plant conduits. That's probably a good idea, I would think. Okay, cool. Courtesy of Ontario Hydro. All right. So we're at, oh yeah. Things get real. So this is a big pool, which is above the river level. And the river gets very robust here. I'm hoping you can hear that in a moment as I cross this gigantic pool. All right. Danger or excess beyond this point may result in drowning. So there's a spillway. What you're hearing is a combination of the spillway and the Niagara River. We are just a few hundred meters really away from the falls itself. And thankfully, I can continue, it looks like by bike because there's a ramp. The rapids here are robust and swift and powerful. Again, Superman 2 is the movie of choice. Very beginning. Regardless of cut, Donner cut, original cut, you'll see it. And here's an interesting spot. Danger, no trespassing. There is a little eddy here, or a little pool that sticks out where the water is very shallow and there's not a lot going on. You could conceivably wade out into that a few feet. You go another 5 meters, 10 meters, you're in deep, rapid water and you're going over the falls. I am stunned, really, that this isn't gated off. Very surprised. Okay, so they do not want me to cycle on the bridge. They would like me to walk because it is narrow, and I get that. And there are pedestrians, so I will make that work. So that was the Dufferin Islands back there is where I was. And here, I think I'm just gonna walk because it's a very photogenic spot here. So this is another feeder creek or feeder canal into the Niagara River. And geese and goslings. So these goslings are pretty grossed up, so they're still fuzzy, but they're big. I'm going to get hissed at. Let's see here. I'm going to go a little overland here. Utilize my wide tires and e-bike to get the first of what will be many shots of the bike with water in the background. There we go. Let's see if we need that. There we go. That's a nice shot. All right, I think we're going to take a little bit of a break here, and then we'll resume as things go along. Much more to come on this Niagara Falls adventure. All right, we are back. The reason why we took the break was I had to take a call from my brother, and my mother is having some health issues. We are going to continue our way back. We are going to be going to the hotel. I will do what I was planning, which is to go to the falls. We will continue this episode. So, I am here on the Niagara Falls Parkway, and not knowing where I'm going is... So strangely enough, there's no... Oh, here we go. Here's a path again, which is good. So we're going to be continuing along the Niagara River. There's more people here. Yeah, you can see the mist from the Horseshoe Falls. This is an amazing perspective because you're above, because of course, you know, this river is flowing downhill at quite a clip right here. And so you're quite a bit above where the drop point is, even though it's only, I'd say maybe 200 meters at most away. It is pretty amazing. And the signs continue. Again, with all of the going down the falls in a barrel thing, I'm still stunned that they haven't put up any kind of a barrier at all. But it's nice because you get this beautiful view of the river unimpeded, which is really fantastic. And go around these folks. Pedestrians blocking the entire way, walking four abreast. It's not just for bike paths. Okay, so this is the Niagara Parks power station. So this right here must be the important spot where hydro happens. It's just so calm in the water here, and it's literally to my left shoulder here, these kind of like viaducts that are crossing it, and then to my right, just rapids, and then the Horseshoe Falls. And a cool, oh yeah, I remember this. There's like a really tiny island, for lack of a better way of putting it, where there's a ton of birds. And they're just chilling, mere meters away from the big drop. And now I can see for the first time the far side of the horseshoe and the American side. Very cool. The spillway is really interesting too because the water is just so clear. It's a really beautiful spot. All right, continuing. And we're coming around. It's interesting, it's quieter here because the water is a little stiller, but off in the distance is where all the falls are. Also starting to get more people, so I'm trying to make sure I'm not running into anybody by craning my neck. And let's see, it's a little bit of a ways here until we get to right on top of the falls. Tons of bus parking right here. You can tell this is where a lot of the tour groups are dropped off. It's an excellent spot for it. And yeah, we are right on top. It's interesting, the noise is not as robust as I would have expected, considering we're right by the drop and the horseshoe, but probably because the sound is really, the impact is happening a couple hundred feet below. And so we're insulated from it. It is interesting. And this is the Superman 2 barriers. You can tell I'm obsessed with that. All right, now we get it, just a absolutely stunning shot. A lot of people doing it for the gram right now. Ah, and I see the incline, which gets me back up to my hotel. Yeah, folks from all over the world here. Ah, now I can see the American Falls as well. So many folks around here, I'm definitely walking the lake at this point. Considering how prominent and amazing this is, a lot of folks wonder, why is this not a national park or provincial park? And the answer is because it was too populated before we had national parks. And it's probably a big reason why it's really good that we have them now, because it's protected other places that are as stunning and cool as this from the commercial exposure that this one has had. I will say, New York State's done a decent job. It's, of course, a New York State park. On that side, there's not nearly as much kind of commercial stuff going on. But yeah, this would have a very different vibe otherwise. I now see the Maid of the Mist, the very famous boat that takes you right up into the whirlpool area. Lots of people getting wet on that right now. I have never done the Maid of the Mist, not once. I've been behind the waterfalls in winter though. That's actually cool. It was all iced up. A lot of people say, "Oh, it's not as interesting." Not true. Very interesting. I think seeing the water from the other side, that would be crazy. And of course, you'd get a lot wetter then. So lots of good ways to get wet around here. They will get you right up to the falls themselves. I am going to work my way around, folks, and bike down to see the American Falls. The American Falls are, strangely enough, very difficult to see from the American side. But they are the falls that are specifically just on the American side of the river. The river kind of splits up and goes around Goat Island on the American side. And then, so there's a secondary set of falls, which are not the falls that you tend to see during Buffalo Bills football games in between commercials. The American Falls, however, are cool. But for the fact that the Horseshoe Falls exists, we would be super into these. With the falls in the background. Let's give this one more shot. Who knows which one will be the... Oh, this has got a good shot at being the... You've seen the thumbnail. I have not yet. I've taken a picture of it. Something I've taken as the thumbnail. That was delightful. One thing I will say is, oh, the mist is hitting hard up ahead. I think I wouldn't mind riding through that a little bit. It's the mist from the American side, or the American Falls. So why don't we do that? I think I can maneuver around people okay. Oh yeah, starting to get the mist off of one or both of the falls right now. Cool. And as a result, it has also reduced the number of people in the area, which I think is excellent. Yeah, my perception is there's just like tons and tons of folks from all sorts of different countries around. European countries, Asian countries, everything. And it's a quiet day too. Yeah, I think I'm gonna try to loop around here on this side of the falls, see if I can get back up to where my hotel is from this direction. Otherwise, my perception is I have to go all the way back to where I started. And that wouldn't be as fun. Yeah, so the Maid of the Mist also makes a stop by the American Falls too. Well, it looks like I can get back up this direction. So I think we're waiting on traffic control here. All right, I'm going up Murray Street, and this is going up a hill towards literally my hotel. I can see it from here, so that's good. So we've done the full loop here. sake, get over, dude. I will never understand people who walk straight at you when you're biking. That makes no fucking sense. And I can cross here, and I am on a sidewalk, and I am climbing up this big-ass hill. This works. This works just fine. We have done it. We have done our loop way upstream on the river. And now we are climbing up a not inconsequential hill, up what I presume to be the Niagara Escarpment, a word I love saying. And of course there's a Starbucks here. Why would there not be? There's a lot of like crap around here. Getting back to what I was saying before about the lack of this being a national or provincial park. A lot of this stuff was just built up. It's all private land. It's like literally right here. And that's the great argument for national, state, provincial parks, to be able to put a little buffer in between. No disrespect to anybody who likes this stuff. Hey, you do you. But it's nice to have a little bit of that buffer, to have a little bit more wildness around natural beauty like that. But I will say, nice to have a hotel with a view. Whether I'll stay there tonight or not, open question. But we'll see. And once again, climbing again. Yeah, advantage e-bike for this. This would have been a lot harder on an acoustic bike, that is for sure. I am pretty sure this is where I need to go. Ah, yes, I see my hotel. Just took the scenic route to here, quite literally. I'll tell you what, this was not the trip that I was intending. This was not the ending I was hoping for. Still unclear if this is the end as I record this, but it is definitely the end of my Niagara Falls riding. I think now it's a question of, hey, let's get some lunch, and hey, let's figure out what's next for, am I staying here tonight, or if I'm eating the best hotel room view I have literally ever had. And what a fun, interesting, amazing ride that ended up being as we take the overland route back to the vehicle. So, don't want to spoil the statistics, but what do we got here? We did about 6 miles of riding. I expected a little bit more, but circumstances have changed a bit here. All right, we're gonna call it a ride on there, and we'll be checking in at least one more time for the adventure of this day in and around Niagara Falls, and all of the kind of fun stuff that I was able to do today as a part of this incredible adventure. From Webster, New York. Okay, I know this is going to sound a little weird. Also, it's super echoey in here, so apologies for that. I'm back at the house. This is the end of day 5, and it's a little weird because it's actually day 6. Let me explain. Ended up coming back, drove all the way back in the morning. Spectacular view of the falls, by the way. It was absolutely stunning. What a place to be overnight. Just no notes, 10 out of 10. And I realized that I really needed a day 6. And so never fear, there is a day 6 happening. It's literally now. I'm speaking to you from the future, which is going to be next week for you, today for me. Print the shirt, right? Okay, so the deal is going to be this. I had to get back to check in on my mother. All is fine in adjusted terms. No emergencies, whatever. But it ended up being the right thing overall. This was meant to be. Had I been all bike, I would have been in Niagara Falls and unable to get to my mother as quickly as I really would have wanted to. Probably would have rented a car, probably would have figured it out. But this worked out exactly the way it was supposed to. The ferry being out for day 2, this happening and me needing to get back, everything happened the way that it was supposed to happen for this tour. So for that, I'm grateful. But we will have a day 6, and the day 6 is going to be what day 1 should have been. I am going to start the ride. I'm going to finish the ride the way it was supposed to start, which was to ride from here, my mother's soon-to-be former home, to her current home and visit. The only difference is that I won't be continuing around Lake Ontario. I am going to ride my bike. So the starting line and the finish line will all be by bike, which honestly was the way it was supposed to be. But here at the end of day 5, I have to reflect a little bit on the majesty of Niagara Falls and the fun cycling that was there. I wish I had been able to do more. I could have done more in retrospect, but just given the situation with my mother, I needed to be on standby. Crossing the Rainbow Bridge would have been absolutely doable, super easy to have done, to cross into the US and then basically turn right around and come back. That's going to be for a next time. I'm looking very much forward to an international bicycle crossing in my relatively near future, because I do have to say, given everything that went down, I am super excited to give this another try, but for real next time. And I've got some thoughts that'll end up being in the takeaways episode in a few weeks. But here on day 6, talking about the end of day 5, I just wanted to make sure that I gave that a little bit of closure so that we can go into day 6 in a proper way. It was great. The stuff with the family stuff, the health stuff, setting that aside, everything was really beautiful there. And even though it's such a built-up touristy kind of place, you still have the majesty of those falls and the ability to have great bicycling in and around that just really made this a chef's kiss, great way to end day 5 as a part of all of that. So stay tuned, come back next time. We will have a day 6. There will be cycling involved, far more of it. And we're going to properly both begin and end the tour at the exact same time. See you next time. Statistics. Miles biked, 6. Number of Superman 2 references, 3. Outrageous parking costs at the hotel, 45 Canadian dollars. Length in seconds of the full color cycle of the falls lighting at night, 69. Nice. iPod dockable clock radios in the hotel that are so vintage as to be worth way more than that hotel probably thinks, 1. Flats, 0.
Thank you for joining. You can find Pedal Shift at pedalshift.net for more great bicycle touring content. You can hear the Pedal Shift project through Apple Podcasts or your favorite podcast app. Opening music courtesy of Jason Kent off his self-titled album. The track is called America. Check out his band Sunfield's latest release, Mono Mono, wherever cool music is available.